Hey guys, welcome back to the pod, episode number 2. I don't really like the crazy long intros, so I'm just gonna give you a quick overview and then jump right into it. So we're gonna be going over just quick update in terms of what's going on with AI and helping me get in my, you know, indestructible mode of jujitsu. I guess I don't know, helping me fill the holes in my game. And number 2, we're gonna be doing some role narration, and then we're gonna look into some interesting takes on jujitsu. And lastly, we're gonna look at some news, and we're gonna call it a wrap. All right. So with that being said, let's just jump into it. All right. So here I have some of the stats. So I rolled on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I went to the gym 4 times this week, and I only was able to record 2 of those sessions on my phone. One day, I left my little stand in the car, and I was just lazy and didn't want to go back out and get it. Foolish. And the other day, I was at a different gym. I was at my buddy Jay's gym. Well, not his gym, but he was teaching there, and I just felt uncomfortable. When you're rolling with new people, automatically having a camera out. Very bad YouTuber, I guess. But anyway, so I have the roles and the stats broken down. I put it into ChatGPT, my AI, and it helped break it down. So on on Sunday I wrote 6 times, and on Monday I wrote 10 times. 10 is way too much, I realized, for me. To roll 5 to 6 is a good amount. So we're gonna be making that adjustment because after Monday, my body was just like kind of beat up, and so I went into Wednesday, didn't perform the way I wanted to perform from memory, and then Friday was decent, but it wasn't really anything good. So I need to tone down like how how many rolls I'm actually doing, which is really good for me to see this. And because I hurt my wrist on Monday. Yeah, and I became very lazy as I was watching the videos of my Monday rolls compared to my Sunday rolls. Very, very lazy. So the statistics will look like, um, in terms of guard, like in terms of having my guard pass, I had my guard pass 1 out of 6 on Sunday and 5 out of 10 times on Monday. So yeah, I'm not sure if there was fatigue 100%. I wasn't really paying attention to it at that time. It's just something that I'm looking back at it and be like, is that a thing? Or was there just like lack of technique? Or was there like both lack of technique and lack of um, energy to try to execute it? Because one thing I noticed is my form and my posture was really, really poor, really, really bad on a lot of my open guard stuff. So duly noted, to improve, and it just gives me some like updates in terms of like what I should be working on. But honestly, it didn't. That whole AI thing is really interesting for my. It doesn't really give you like, it doesn't analyze the footage, right? So I'm analyzing the footage, and then I'm the one taking like I'm breaking it down. I'm writing like notes for each role that I'm doing. So it's not necessarily a like I input the video and it analyzes the roles, which would be like really, really cool if it could do that. But they can't right now. And so using my notes, it gives like kind of, it just like organizing my notes a little bit better for me in case I lose this piece of paper. I don't have to worry about carrying a notebook around all the time. You see like in some of the YouTube classes that you might watch, if you watch any BJJ like in instructionals or whatever, you might see students with like a pen and paper, a notebook, jotting down like their notes. I always thought that was weird. But people learn differently, right? So I don't want to judge anybody, because they'll probably wreck me in the gym, and they should. So that being said, that was my take on what's going on with that in terms of updates on like the strength and conditioning side of things. Because Monday's rolls, 10 rolls, really beat me up. Towards the end of the row, I rode 2 times with a guy that is about 215 pounds. And for reference, I'm about 167. So that's where I actually hurt my wrist during that time, and it's no fault of that individual. Is 100% my fault because I kept going for Kimuras. On bigger guys, it's not smart. I mean, it can work, but um, it my wrist was already kind of jacked up, and so I made it worse by doing that. Where I should have like went on focused on different things. So because of that, I didn't really honestly have the energy to do push-ups, and like just lifting my son was a lot, honestly, and keep picking him up out of the crib, up and down the stairs, in and out the car this week. That was like my workout, honestly. I didn't get the chance to run. I didn't get the chance to do any of that stuff just because I felt so beat up, honestly. So my goal is to go to the gym tomorrow, but I'm gonna definitely probably only do like maybe 3 rounds. Hopefully that's what I say, and then I go and I do like 5 or 6. Hopefully not, but it's so hard to be there, and when somebody asks you to roll, you say no. That's like for me, that's really really hard. I gotta I gotta figure that out. Make some system to get off the mat, like when I'm done. So anywho, let's get into the role that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be narrating a role that I did with Jay. Jay is he's a white belt, and he would come to my class that I taught on Mondays. But we're moving that class to a different day, so he didn't know. So he showed up, and I was like, "Hey, let's just roll together." And I want to you know, com how do you say commentate on it, annotate, narrate over it, and this can be helpful for Jay, I think, and I think it'll be helpful for any other white belts or blue belts that are watching this to kind of like look at maybe some things of what you could be doing, and where my mindset is. So if you train with me at my gym, then you can kind of see like the insights of what it is that I'm thinking of doing, and hopefully um, you can wreck me because of it. Yeah, so let's transition to that over here, and let's get that thing started. So we're hand fighting. Very, very important to hand fight. One thing I want to note is Jay's posture is uh, not that great right now. It's not terrible, but it's kind of like he's in between a stage. So it seems like he wants to put me on my back and then like kind of start passing from there, but he's just squatting. So and he's letting me get my grips that I want. So I've been holding the back of his head for a while now. I switch. I don't really want it. I'm focusing on doing this trap and pull. He kind of shuts it down. Again, I have really bad posture. I go to my back on my own, which is not good. I force half guard. And so right here, hopefully they don't block too long, if any. So from right here, Jay should be looking to grip fight, continuously grip fight, posture up. Don't go too far in my guard. And he gets what's called the dummy sweep. And the only reason why this was possible, let's rewind just a little bit. The only reason why this was possible is because he put his like ankles, he started squaring up with me and he came too close to me. He was coming too close into my close guard. My half guard. One thing that I like to do is block that bottom knee and get the person, get their hips kind of flat on the mat, and then work that far shoulder and let them be kind of pinned to the mat. You want their back on the mat. Don't just like drive up closer and closer. Even though it like might seem like my legs are shelved, this is like really perfect for me and how I weirdly play. Because you're going to see I'm going to get inside position with this leg here. I already got one grip. The next grip is about to come right there. And then the inside trip. And I keep the ankles and I come up. I grab an Achilles grip. And I'm going for a straight ankle because I know white belts can do straight ankle locks. So I just want to expose Jay to him. This posture is okay. It's not terrible. You got fighting the head position. I again fall on my back. I like how he didn't step into my half guard. He stepped around. That's really good. That's really good, but I shoot that hook in because I don't want to get past. And then I'm trying to force right here. I'm forcing clamp guard. I've been talking about this kind of a lot recently. Clamp guard is something I'm really, really big into. Um, and I'm trying to control his posture. I'm trying to get that triangle right there, but he ends up kind of forcing an omoplata. I don't really want the omoplata, but he like pulls it right out. He limp arms out, perfect. Trying to keep him away, go back to half guard. I'm trying to force his knee that way so I can try to take his back. So this is my bottom leg is pulling and my top leg is pushing into his knees, kind of creating this like torquing pressure a little bit. So he has to go. And I'm trying to like kind of get him to fall and I could just take his back, but it didn't really work out as well as I planned. Here, I'm scooping the leg, possibly going for a K guard entry, or at least I should be. And he kind of was privy to it. So now I'm coming up on top. Sorry, the camera's a little bit farther away. I wish I could zoom in here. But you see here, as I'm passing half guard, ooh, that jumped back like a lot farther than I thought it would. All right, so now I'm in a passing position. And so as I'm passing, I'm pinning his top leg. Uh, my arm is grabbing his hip right here, and I'm pinning that top leg. And I'm gonna clear this bottom hook here, or he allows me. I just walk around, I grab the back of his head, and you're gonna see me melt into side control. Here, I should melt into the side control. Not the perfect melting, but I basically pass over his legs. I'm in side control. Um, so that's definitely a pass that you can do, like pin that top leg. I like to play with that a lot actually. And so from here, I'm looking to just really control. Jay is strong. He is very strong. Um, you see his training videos. He is. I gotta work out with him or something, man. I don't know if I can hang though, to be honest. So it's really hard for me to like actually hold him down here. Um, and one thing that I'm going for heavily is I'm going for this arm trap. I want his arm to be trapped. And so I can start looking to do finishes immediately from there or do a chair sit and take the back. I'm always looking to trap an arm or step over a head and get into a triangle. Those are usually, and they go well because you step over the head, you got the arm. So here we are. I don't really like this too much, but I'm like, hey, why not? Like, this was the move I believe Rich showed that day, the instructor showed that day, or similar to it. So we got just a traditional head and arm from mount, and the defense that he could have done. I'm realizing on that I'm in a little square, but the defense that he could have done is he could have started answering the phone, what they call answer the phone. But if we roll back a little bit for him to prevent uh, what could have happened. So he does a really good job staying on his side here. He does a really good job staying on his side. And this is something that we call like a running man position that you kind of want to continuously work on. He starts kipping from the side, which is not necessarily what you would need to do. One thing is once he gets flattened out, so I play the position all the time, so I know I want to flatten you out, right? I want to do whatever I can to flatten you out. I want to control your elbows or whatever I can. So right now he's trying to attack me, which is not what he should be focusing on. His focus should be like T-Rexing his arms, keeping his arms and his elbows tight to his chest, tight to his core, and looking for an opportunity to escape. That's what he should be focusing on right now. Opportunity to escape or regard. And so because he's framing and reaching out, I'm able to start smashing his arms together. And that's what ultimately led to this pass right here. And so just knee on belly, slide straight to mount, and head and arm, lock it up. head into the arm, and then you're gonna get a finish there. But Jay's a trooper. You can see, man. Like he some people like they roll, they get tapped, and then they're like done. For me, you tap me, I'm coming back again. You tap me, I'm coming back again. You tap me, I'm coming back again. And you just keep tapping me. I'm gonna keep coming though. And I love that about Jay as well. Like, he's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be a problem. So right here, I realized I didn't narrate anything right here. So we're grip fighting. The number one thing that you must do is grip fight, grip fight, grip fight, grip fight. You see, I'm also hooking the back. I'm like grip fighting with my foot as well as his hands the whole entire time. I'm trying to maintain connection. This foot could be doing something. So I'm arm dragging. I'm trying to do an arm drag to a back take, as you can see here. And I'm gonna make sure I get this hook right there so he can't like run away and I just fall down. And I have his back. And I like to trap that bottom hook. You only really need one hook, honestly. And I'm way too high up right now. And I because I transitioned to the arm bar. Okay. Transitioning to an arm bar. And which transitions to a scissor choke. Not sure how I did that exactly. Like I went for the arm, realized that my leg wasn't gonna come out, so I just switched to a scissor choke. So he wanted to play guard here, so he's scooting, and again, the number one thing is the grip fights, right? Grip fights, grip fights. So his legs are pretty extended right here. He's shooting in, and I can see it all. My posture is really bad as well. So I'm keeping that. I don't want his leg to hook me, right? So I'm kind of how do you say? I'm putting my butt to my heel, and I'm trying to keep like minimize as much space as he can possibly have to hook him in there. And so as we go, again, I'm controlling that top leg, and then that bottom. You see, he just has the bottom knee, so I just give a whole bunch of pressure. I'm like going to north south, and I stop once he starts to roll. And so one thing that Jay can do from here is Jay can play with his knees closer to his chest. This is something that I'm learning to do a little bit better. I need to be better at is just play with my knees closer to my chest. Or if I'm going to play a half guard game, the bottom hook is essential. It's like you have to have it. If not, you're just gonna get passed, honestly. Because when it gets to this point, you got to throw him in half guard just to keep him in some type of guard, just to have some type of guard. Yeah, and so now I'm looking to isolate a arm. Preferably, I love to go for a head and arm. Uh, Years ago, I was huge into like Darsh chokes, Japanese neckties. They both flow so well. Fell out of that because I stopped training. I put a Kimura on again, not great because I have my wrists are jacked up and I'm throwing up Kimuras. Kimura into an armbar situation. He beautifully escapes, gets back to the mat. And I'm just trying to put a lot of pressure. I'm trying to get him to go belly down. I'm trying to encourage the belly down. He is fighting it, but again, Jay is strong. I'm trying to push his elbow into it. I think he feels that I want him to go that way, so he's resisting it. I'm not sure what type of finish I'm looking to do. Knowing me, I'm probably looking to do a wrist lock. I don't know what I ended up doing. We got to talk to Jay on that one. Or if it could have just been the time. But amazing roll with Jay. I really appreciate him. Again, he's a great guy. I think his daughter trains as well. Great dad. Just all around like a role model, honestly. So now that we got those roles out of the way, I got some interesting takes. I got some interesting things. I got a couple questions that I'm curious to know your takes on, and I'm gonna give my perspective. But definitely, if you can, please, leave a comment. I got a whole bunch of views on the last one. I was actually really surprised. Like, answer the questions, leave them in the comment. Let me know your take on it. The first question I got here is, should jujitsu schools incorporate striking into their curriculum? And the reason why I thought about this question was recently, was it Wednesday? There was a black belt that came from, I think, Kansas. Is Angel. Nice, chill, real respectable dude. Great role. Learned a lot from him actually in the short rolls that we did. And one thing that we did when we were rolling, I'm very patient. I'll stay in one spot for a very long time, even if it's like a spot that's not advantageous for me, because I don't really roll for points. I don't roll for any of that stuff. I roll for submissions. Either we're going for a tap or not. Like, I don't care about the position. I don't care about really any of that. Obviously, position over submission in order to get the submission. But at the end of the day, like, if perfect rule set for me is like sub only if I was to compete, right? So that being said, I was in a not so good position against Angel, and he started doing like air taps. And I was like, oh snap, I am in danger here. I need to move. And so it made me move. So I'm just curious, like, what do you guys think? Like, incorporating strikes, maybe not necessarily like hard hits, but maybe some taps just to let the person know, like, hey, you're not really safe right here. And in a jujitsu grappling sense, yeah, sure, you're safe. But, if you ever got in the street altercation, you need to know, like, I can't camp in this position. Like, I need to go immediately. And can you do that? Because if you've been so used to playing jiu-jitsu in one way, right, of like camping in a position, if you're familiar with like Preet Mickelson or Chris Paynes, if you're so used to like camping in Running Man, for example, or camping in Turtle, I did like that's not a great place to camp on a street fight or in any type of fight situation, right? Uh, I trained initially at the Gracie, where I learned jujitsu was under the, Hinner Hiran, one of their certified training centers in Seoul, Korea, under a guy named Jason Park. And he was a brown belt at the time. And we did something called R&D. I think it was like reflex and development, something like that. And it was strikes mixed in with jujitsu, so you had to get like some MMA gloves, and like people are throwing like haymakers, like wild punches, nothing like professional boxers would throw, or Muay Thai or kickboxing or anything like that. So that was really honestly a lot of fun. I thought it was a lot of fun to incorporate jujitsu because your jujitsu becomes very basic. You do the most basic things, the most necessary things, and you manage distance a lot. And I think a lot. I personally believe that striking should be included. It should be, at least be a class at every gym. I don't know if it should be mandated. No, I'm gonna say it should be mandated. It should be mandated because like if you do jujitsu and there's a possibility that you might have to use it one day, right? Ideally, not. Ideally, we can talk out of the situation, walk away, or whatever the case may be. But if you got that drunk uncle that you need to control, not saying punches might come, but what if that drunk uncle is just like off, right? And he wants to throw some punches. We need to be able to control that, drunk uncle, right? So, and we don't want to strike them, but we need to know that where strikes can come from. That's at least my argument. What's your take on it? Next one I have here. Are are the belts necessary? Like the belt system in BJJ, is it like necessary? Is it like a necessary tradition, or is it kind of like an outdated practice? Like, is it really really necessary? And what like comes to my mind here is there's an interview with Jake Shields. He did it with Rampage Jackson. Great podcast. Dude is so funny. Rampage is so funny. They did an interview, And he starts explaining, Jake Shields starts explaining like the difference between like American jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he goes into like explaining that American jiu-jitsu is a mix between, like, obviously they take the gi off, and it's a blend of wrestling and submission grappling. And then there's another podcast, and I don't know the competitor's name. I don't know the athlete's name. Um, the title of the thumbnail was like CJI like gets ADCC athletes paid or something like that. I don't remember the title, but at the beginning of the podcast, he starts talking about like the reasons why he started competing no gi versus gi. In gi, he feels like the Brazilians are just on top, which is true. Like you look at in the gi scene, like all the best ones winning everything are Brazilian. And then you look in the no-gi world, like the no-gi situation, you have Gordon Ryan sitting at the top and a whole bunch of Americans. And then, of course, you have some like other countries as well. But for the most part, like America is on top. And so it was like very interesting. Even the coach, right? Like John Danaher, right? Like he's sitting up on that number one spot right there. So it just made me think, like, we're having this belt system from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu with the gi on. If you're training no gi, like I primarily do, and you're never really wearing a gi, does it really make a difference? Right? Like if you have a belt or not? I think for some people, it's going to motivate them to train more, and make them feel happy that they have an accomplishment. I do think there's value in that. I think there's a lot of value in that. Uh, what do you guys think? For me, I trained 7 years. I trained 7 years as a white belt, like three stripe white belt for 7 years. Before I got promoted to purple belt. So I never was a blue belt, right? I guess during that time I was a blue belt. But it doesn't really matter, right? The skill, like it didn't change anything. It didn't change how I rolled afterwards, right? Like if I was losing to a particular individual, I was losing to that particular individual, right? And if that person happens to have a black belt, that person has a black belt. Like, if a wrestler, a D1 wrestler comes in off the street and just starts passing my guard, yeah, he's a white belt, but he's gonna pass my guard. Like, do belts even like really mean anything? Like, obviously not. Like, should we continue to do this? Or like, like wrestling, there's no belts in wrestling. It's just like, yeah, that guy's really good. Maybe there should be belts in wrestling. What do you guys think? The the last question I have is, we're talking about the belts and everything. So we have this gi versus no gi. We have a little chat for our jiu-jitsu school, and this is like a running theme, running joke about gi versus no gi. And honestly, my take is you should burn the gi. Like, which is more practical for self-defense? Gi? Well, I think it depends on where you are. And honestly, if it has to depend on where you are for the gi to work, then no gi is more practical. I feel like, because you can't go wrong with underhooks and overhooks. You can't go wrong with body position. If you're so reliant on grabbing clothes, like what if you're at the beach? What are you gonna grab? Right? Like if you're somewhere hot and they're not wearing that many clothes, like what are you gonna grab? I seen like the Gracies, Henry and Huron, like they did something like where people like they're grabbing t-shirts and strangling people with t-shirts. Like, yeah, it's definitely possible to do stuff like that, but I mean, what if the t-shirt rips? Like, you know what I mean? Like you got your grip on it, t-shirt rips, and now like you lost your grip, right? If you're so reliant on that, wouldn't it be much better to be like, I guess, similar to Marcelo Garcia? He does no gi in gi, right? Something like that, which is basically no gi. He's just wearing a gi. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the goat because he's a G goat legend, right? So, but for all of us others who are not on that status, right? Like, come on, why are you still wearing a gi? It's so annoying to like wash. It's so annoying to like take home to pack. It's like extra luggage. Like a rash guard is just simple, right? It's just real simple. Just bop. That's all. It's like this. It's this big. A gi is like And I used to tie my belt, make it like a thing I can carry it and all this. Like it's so much. It's so much. The gi is very clunky, and it needs to get out of here. So with that, last thing I wanted to talk about was I was really excited for CJI Mason Fowler. He was going to be competing, but I don't know what happened. He's being pulled. He's out of it. I hope he's okay. Because opportunity to make $1 million, I'm pretty sure, it has to be some serious reason for him to back out, or you know, he just doesn't care about money. But I'm pretty sure, there has to be some serious reason. So I hope he's okay with that. But I think he's being replaced with a wrestler. I'm not too familiar with him. Like I don't want to say this, but it's a jiu-jitsu tournament and it's a submission like tournament, and it seems like the one who spams the most submissions might be the one to win based off of the rule sets. Like they give you like points or consideration for points when like for the ones who do submissions. And wrestlers, I guess Nicky Rod's a wrestler, but I mean, he kind of is like a special case, and he trains with literally the best people. Um, he was with John Danaher for like how long as well. So it's a different scenario, right? Like these other wrestlers are not gonna have John Danaher in their corner, or in their training room in their camp, right, with them. So I don't know how good their jiu-jitsu actually will be, and to compete with these top athletes like who've been doing jiu-jitsu on the biggest stage. I just honestly don't think they stand a chance. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that we see something shake up. But as a jiu-jitsu guy, I'm very biased, and a wrestler, yeah, they can hold you down, they can pin you, they can make it very uncomfortable for you. But if you get out and you get on that leg, it's over. So with that, if you guys didn't see the interview for the Road to CJI, I definitely recommend you see that last one with how do you say it? Hanato? Like he came back. Um, he used to bother Joe Rogan back in the day. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely watch that. The dude is hilarious. Do not watch with your kids though. If you have kids, do not watch with your kids. But that's all. I'll give you guys an update. For this week, I'm gonna be focusing again still on open guard. And we'll see what the stats look like. Hopefully I record more of the videos, and see you guys. Oh, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. Doses.